was it again? No. It's a Tasker. It is a Tasker Andover, you see, just down the road from me. And yeah, Taskers of Andover, they eventually became operating out of Waterloo Works, I think it was. It eventually became a trader company called Andover Traders in the end. But they were a nice size engine though, weren't they, David? You know, quite
another 3-speed light engine.
Yeah, another lightweight. Yeah, very nice.
But the big thing about this is it's chain drive. Mostly this is a direct gear drive, and we talked about that when we kept changing gear, but this is driven, it's a gear drive. Now we always say, we wonder why this didn't catch on, because being gears, if you think about it, you've got your gears and they were in constant mesh. Yeah. So you couldn't have anything like independent suspension because the gears had just come out of mesh. So they did a chain drive. And that meant that the rear wheels have got suspension. Now, I would have thought that was a good idea, but strangely enough, they didn't sell too many of these. And it's a nippy little engine. You do, wow, wait for it, 15 miles an hour on the road.
Also, a useful engine with the winch on the near side wheel, you see. Yeah. A lot of engines, they put these winches on that side and use them in forestry, winching the trees up through the forest and stuff. So, you know, they're a very useful vehicle in itself, because that use of the flywheel would have driven a saw bench in a forestry application. You know,
I also know that if they had more than one trailer and you've got steep hills like, say, Cornwall, you put this at the top of the hill, chop the wheels and tow the trailer up the hill. I know it sounds laborious, but there we are. Now it's an imposture, isn't it? Because it's not a steam engine. Whoa, Rob, you're cheating. It's a diesel roller. And it's the head of the horse is... I think the Godfather's been at this one because the horse on the front's lost his head. It's called Thunderbird because it sounds like thunder when it's going. Listen to it, it's a single part engine. It was an experiment. This came down from Hadlow Down as part of the Claw Jessup collection, and Rod said he did it in record time. Hadlow Down, what, about 10 miles, 4 hours. Took 4 hours to get it over. It's enabling. But it was built right back at the beginning of the century as an experimental. And do you know how they started? We did a hell of a job when we used to start it because it had to be towed. See that big cylinder on the top, John? It's compressed air, very high pressure compressed air, and that's what gets that cylinder going in the first place. The charge from that, it's amazing, really. Good thinking, but they carried on. I mean, Avelings then became Aveling and Barford, and they carried on building diesel rollers right up into the 70s.
You made a point earlier on about mentioning how it was labour intensive for the steam world. And of course that is when the tractor came along about 1907 with Henry Ford and the Eros tractor. Only needed one person to drive it. So the steam days started to decline as fast as what they'd appeared. And it was down to the fact it was labour intensive. You needed a steerman, you needed a coalman there. And at the end of the day, the tractors overtook it. As the tractors became more popular, they were cheaper, farmers could sort of buy them, and the steam days were numbered.
1922 that was built, and we were carrying on, you're quite right about the steam engines, but we carried on building them into the 1930s with the Wallace and Stephen.
Yeah.
So that's an early. I'm being chased again by Nightmare. Yeah, this lovely big Fowler road locomotive, compound engine. What does that mean? Well, do you want to know? Yeah, I'll tell you. There's two cylinders, a high pressure and a low pressure. So you start off with the steam in the high pressure. Now, normally what happens then, the steam's used up, goes out the chimney. But, so you're wasting a lot of your power. So they come up with the compound engine, so the high pressure, instead of just exhausting steam through the chimney, it goes to the low pressure, and you have a second go at it. So it's a much more economical use of the steam. And this has got a big history. It's called Nightmare because it has been over the years, hasn't it, Roy? You've had a bit of trouble with it over the years. And it is loose on the back. I thought, you've a different hair colour or something. When I was going round, I thought Roy had picked himself up another lady because he wouldn't do anything like that. Because if he did, you got back the caravan, he'd be dead. I know, yeah. Look at this. You get a whole family. They used to go around, and I promise you I won't be too rude, but you used to have a big sign on the back, does my bum look big in this? Because it sticks out a mile, because it was used for carrying wood. Okay, so you've had some problems with this. The least of the problem, breaking axle. I won't go into where it was in the middle of a town, and it's imagine getting the wheels off this? Look, they're taller than I am. And getting the axle out and having to rebuild it. Now that is a job and a half. Yeah, that's just one thing though. You have had some problems with it over the years, one way or another, but it's a fantastic engine and we're always pleased to see it. Thanks very much for bringing it, boy. Yeah.
David, one thing we've not mentioned is the use of the smoke box on the front of an engine like this. You can actually cook a meal in the smoke box of an engine, so you can't do it on a road roller. I was just talking about how you can cook a dinner in a smoke box on the front of these engines. You can't do it on a road roller because there's a headstop, of course. And a lot of these people lived on the road with their living vans and cook their meals in the smoke boxes. Very useful piece of kit.
And this is great luck with Seth here. Now, he still hasn't finished the lagging on this because Greg is actually leader of the steam group up at Tinker's Park. Now, Greg won't mind me saying this, but he first came to us as a volunteer when he was about 12 or 13, and he was an early teenager, and he was a right stroppy bloke then. And he's changed, he's still stroppy, but but he came through the apprenticeship scheme, and he's with us now, and he's now in charge of the steam group at Tinker's Park. And he's rebuilt, alright, it's had a new boiler, which has to be done professionally by a boiler maker, because there's 180 pounds worth of steam pressure in there. If anything goes wrong with that, we're all a goner. But it won't, because it's got a certificate that's really it's tested very rigorously every year and gets a certificate, so not to worry. But all the rest of it, most of it, was a kit of bits, wasn't it, Greg? And you've rebuilt this. It's only out in its second year. Single-handedly, I don't know what, he must have gone without food for weeks, I think, because I know how expensive these things are to run. Well done, Greg.
If I can just mention about Sentinel, there were a couple of good manufacturers out there for steam lorries. One was this one Sentinel, the other being Foden. Now, Sentinel, when you bought this one new, you would go to the Sentinel works, you'd have your photograph taken next to your engine, and it would be under an archway. And above the archway was from the Sentinel man. And of course that was always the thing with an owner, when you bought a new one of these, you went and had your photo taken before you drove it out the factory. And that factory's still there in Shrewsbury. Sentinel was a Shrewsbury company, and it's still there. So just look at the quality of the build on that thing. There's no change of them, weren't there?
Fantastic, but you might look at this and say, what's a steam engine with pneumatic tyres? Well, it's quite correct, because it wasn't built till 1934, by which time diesel lorries had come in, but at that time these were by far the superior engines in terms of performance to a diesel lorry. This has got two steam engines on it because it's one of only a fairly small number of that Sentinel's built to use as timbered tractors. So you've got the steam engine, but the doors open because that in there is like the famous one used to belong to the Burgess family in royalty.
Or the Victor's symbol tent on the front, which means it's an A-set. Of course, A-set were built down in Washington, down in the
Not a note, because I've been doing this for all 20 years and I can never remember the years of doing it. I've never done it. People like to know how old it is. And this was built in 1909. Well over 100 years old. It went to a scrapyard in 1976 and it was rescued from Hardwick Scrapyard by John Mortimer. Currently owned by Bob Watt, who also owns the ploughing engine. A regular performer on the Southern Rally Field is royalty. We're pleased to see her again. Lady Margaret, I think this one is.
It's worth mentioning, but the steam, from what they've heard recently, had 3 or 4 very sort of impressive leaps forward. The first one was during World War I. There was the shortest field, so steam next to the front. The second World War II, and then a big shot was 1952 with the Suez crisis.
We had to get the steam makers back. We couldn't get the oil, and the steam makers put a lot of pipeline and other big companies put them back in service.
And there was 8 to 900 in mothballs, exactly. And they were brought back again in 1952. But then Fred Dibner, the guy who all got to lights and lows, through his for a better word, the steam era, with his programs, we all got to follow him and go. So we couldn't forget that. most of the big things sold on 25 man a time, and that led to the preservation movement. And there are some shows, like Applewood, which was tracked back to 70 years or more, when the preservation was started.
Also was the first one, they had a racing steam engine for a yard of ale, and which was an honour to be quite fun. I mean, you would adore those. And there was a cartoon used to be in the Daily Mirror, where two people was owning a traction engine doing racing with it. Amazing. And then the rally, that literally kick-started the rally season. And you're right, engine we could have had here today, not quite fit. We've been doing it up, I did a story on it, it's called Daisy. And it was bought out of Wheatley scrapyard by Claude, and he paid 70 quid for it. Now, in its current condition, it's a roller, it's at the bottom end of the price scale, if you like, but it still costs you, what, 40 grand minimum? Yeah.
I'm going to go through the miniatures. We haven't made
that? Yeah, well, no.
Anyway, the miniature engine. Now, when you look at the miniatures we got, they are complete replicas of a full size. Now, when it comes to the very first one here, this one represents a road locomotive. You can always tell a road locomotive from the fact it's got a solid flywheel. And the reason they put a solid flywheel on these is because in full size form, had it had a spoke flywheel with all the pins striking on it, and it overtook a horse on the highway, it would find the horse and it would rear up. So they actually put a solid flywheel on the road locomotive. Then we've got a good example here of the spoke steam lorry. Now, we're talking 4-inch, 6-inch, sorry, but 6-inch represents half size, 4-inch represents 1/3 size, and 3-inch represents quarter size. So Foden went on to become Edwin Richard Foden, which was ERF, and this is a very good example of a Foden steam lorry. Now bear in mind, these lorries used to go along in full-size form at about 22 miles an hour. Now these guys, if they towed a trailer, they would not only have to commission the engine in the morning for a day's work, they'd probably have to load the vehicle itself, they'd have to decommission it in the evening, and it wasn't an 8-hour day, it wasn't a 10-hour day, it was actually a 17-hour day we used to work. And the money wasn't that good, and of course it was long, arduous effort. Anyway, the other engine we've got here is the garage traction engine. Now, of course, the agricultural engine in form, in full-size form, that flywheel was what earned the money. Now, bear in mind that farmers, if they had threshing to do on a field, they didn't always own an engine, they called in contractors who would do the work using the flywheel and plough the land, they'd use the pressure machine. In a forestry application, it would run a saw bench. So you've got some very interesting examples of miniatures here today. So like I say, a miniature one is a complete replica of full size. You've got to ask yourself, how did they build these back in the early 1900s? Because you didn't have computers. You never had computer drawings. You never had CAD drawings. You barely had anything other than finding health and safety in a cold, sometimes damp, sometimes no windows sort of factory environment. It must have been awful in the 1900s doing stuff with full-size engines. But they did, they built them, they were built to precision, and every engine came out of the factory to be a precise example of what it should be. But how did they do it? That's a question we will never find out. Because we would struggle nowadays to build a full-size example of an engine with the skills we've got there. But they did it, and they did it well. Anyway, you've seen road rolling, you've seen agricultural engines, you've seen showman's engines, and you've seen steam lorries. Hope you enjoyed this section. Don't know where David is in this spot. Yeah, I know David gives a very, very good insight into the world of steam today. And we're back again tomorrow with all the steam engines back in the arena.
Well, we are.
Aren't we?
If we survive the night in the beer tent, no, don't tell him, right? Okay, seriously. No, it's always a lovely rally, and if you're about tonight, and forget the beer tent part, the tear down of the game, it's a lovely atmosphere up here. I tell you what, stay behind and enjoy the atmosphere. But I did speak to Austin Hawkins, who, as I say, has been handed the job of being the chief sea marshal, a job which I did for many years. Peter Hellingly took over from me, and he finally handed the baton on to on St Hawkins. So, we're going to have some sort of steam games, I call it, you know, something in the arena that Austin's worked out. I don't know whether it's going to be a race down at Bollard or a slow race, what it's going to be. Claire. That's an idea. We could do that. Right. Okay, yeah. John's just suggested. Good idea. But so hold on to your whistles at the moment. Don't do the whistles because we're going to, anybody who wants to do it in the arena, photos. The engines won't be moving. No. And you can obviously go between them, but please be careful and please do not. We had a situation, I was in London one day with the engine had to go across the ferry, Woolwich ferry, right? And a lovely gentleman came up and said, I do love these engines, pay at the side, burn your hands. So, yeah, don't touch them, they're very hot. Yeah. So apart from that, otherwise, come and take pictures.
I would just get David, 5 minutes, right, invite public in and say what focus session, probably the best angle. Absolutely corners, as opposed to going around the back of that. Stay over this side, everybody. Take a few photos, you've got 5 minutes, and please be very careful and take your steps.
Yeah, and when I do say, and we love you to take photos, please do. It's something that we haven't done before. It's a good idea, John, but if I say please be in the arena, that's because they'll be moving, and they're very quiet, so it's really, really good. But in actual fact, you stop an engine by closing the regulator and putting the reverse lever into neutral or, in fact, into reverse. That will stop the engine quicker than any motor car. But if you want to do it on the brake, you've got to wind that brake round and round and round, and if you're stopping on a hill, and you're the steersman, like I used to be, you jump off, and you put a wooden shock underneath it. That's the brake. Okay, so if you've got your pictures, that's a lovely idea, but would you please leave the arena now, because we're going to do some steam engine games, and we're going to ask them to blow the whistles. And when they blow the whistles, it's very loud. So if you've got children, and you're worried about their hearing, which I'm sure you would be, then get them to put their hands over their ears, because they are going to be very loud, but you can hear them in each form when they do this, I tell you. Right, so in a minute we're going to ask the engines that aren't taking part in any manoeuvres to leave the arena, but before we do that, we want to give all the people living in Hellingly Showground what it's like to hear the steam whistles. So you can give us a blast on whistles, gents and ladies, please. Now that last one was something Right now we must have members of the public out in the arena. Well, frankly, we shouldn't have asked them in the first place, so they're very strict on safety, but nobody's going to come. Look, public out in the arena, thank you very much. Engines, Austin, what have you thought about here? What are we going to do? Anything? Slow race, okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. So we are going to do a slow, tomorrow we're going to do that. It's not half an hour, so by the time we get these out and go on slow race, I think I'll probably take it up. Yeah, we're going to do the serious steamer tomorrow, that's very popular. But I was just looking at the clock, I've got 25 minutes, so we're going to ask the engine public have all left the arena now, perfectly safe, go out, quietly up, but do watch the bottom gate. When they're coming out the arena and going back, keep your dogs on the move, keep your children close to you, because, well, as I said, they can stop on the system, but we don't want the accidents. They're going out the motorway back to the street there, and some of them are going back past the BSN. Some of them might actually not make it past the BSN. They have a funny having to break it down by the BSN. Because they're not driving after that, so don't worry about it. Okay, we're going to have a slow race. I did wrong. Well, we used to have fast racing, but it's the old health and safety thing. And what I said about braking, well, they can stop. Of course you can. I've been on the road with 7 of these engines, and of course you can stop. But the brigade that says, no, it's dangerous. So we can't have fast racing, in case they go through the fence to the other end. So we're going to have slow racing. So that's quite testing on the driver, as well as the CS person. I'll explain it when it comes down to it. It's judged on the engine that's the slowest, not the fastest. And he's got to keep the flywheel going. And I'll tell you what, there's usually some dirty tricks going on as well, which we do. But anyway, thank you very much for bringing the engines in. Pretty well every mate is represented here. I've got any Russian or Fizz or anything like that, but we've got a lot of good engines. And John's already said, right across the board, from the light tractor to the heavy road loco and the ploughing engine at the other end of the scale. Well done. Thanks very much for bringing them, ladies and gentlemen. And there are we've got a lot of good lady volunteers up at Christmas Park now, I'm pleased to say. And lots of youngsters too. We need it to keep this heritage and history alive. All very well. I went to the Science Museum, I don't know, a month or so ago, and in there they've got the oldest Hellingly Showground from about 1870. And it's lovely, it's all polished up and it's standing there at a steam. And you can get an idea of what it looks like, but there's nothing like seeing these engines actually working, albeit going round and round in the arena. But as David Bourne, the tractor man, was saying earlier on, if you go down in the bottom corner of the field over there, there are engines doing, demonstrating what a generator culture engine would do, storing survey work, storing timber, and threshing machines during the harvest, which is ideal for this time of year, because they were the precursor to the combine harvester. You had a threshing drum. The corn were brought into the farmyard, linked up by belts to a threshing drum, and that's the machine that separated the corn from the chaff and the wheat, etc., etc. You built your haystack. But of course, in the farmyard, the one thing you didn't want to do was set light to your hay, so you used to have a starter extra on the top of the chimney. And the whole family came to help. The farmers themselves couldn't necessarily afford their own steam engines, so a lot of these engines were with contractors and would go around to one farm doing their threshing and then on to the next farm. You can see it all over Sussex and everywhere in England one time. Anyway, we'll see how that's done. That's down the bottom in the demonstration area. Demonstration there. We're going to give it a demonstration. Mr. Bitter. Thanks again. Some are going to stay in the arena and go down the end like Pinker has.
Not everybody can afford to have a trailer, so I mean, have to say something like that. And there just aren't the events to shine up. That's why Dave Barrett got rid of his too. Normally he like used to keep barley sugar sweets in his club box for his car. But he obviously didn't even think about putting anything like that in his pocket. He's just not with it anymore. And to get Stuart to change the handbell, he'd have done that himself before.
I just said to John, my co-founder, he's the man, by the way, he's the top man, is John. We're very pleased to have him here today. I think he's doing a podcast later on, so he can get some live interviews. He's really got all the equipment here, so... Anyway, point is, we're going to do this slow race now, which sounds awfully boring, but it won't be, I assure you. Well, I've never seen so many engines. I normally get 4 or 5, or 6 at the most. I think we've got about 8 engines in this town. This could be interesting. Now the idea is that I'm going into the middle of the arena and doing a countdown, and I'm going to give them the starting signal. I'm going to drop the hat, as they say, and they'll start. And they've got to get to the other side of the arena, but not as quickly as possible, but as slowly as possible. And most of the engines, except Vanessa's and Wallace and Stevens Advance in the lineup, have got flywheels. It's the flywheel that keeps the momentum, and that's going around all the time. That flywheel is turning, that engine is in the race. As soon as the flywheel stops, the engine is disqualified and has to stay where it is. And it's the last one, the other side of the arena, with the flywheel turning. And it's difficult because I need slow engines to start with, obviously, but absolutely. I have to work on the game. Okay, so I think we're all ready. So. Okay, you're all lined up, gentlemen and ladies, and so we're ready to start the slow race. And I'm wandering out here, staggering out into the arena. It's been a long day, and oh dear, and I've got to start this lot on. So we're going. When you're ready, 1, no, the other way round. It's 3, 2, 1, go! All the way. Now, Nightmare it's got Nightmare's not going to win. I can tell you that now, don't put your money on Nightmare. They're all starting. No, yeah, what's Jeff doing? Jeff, the flywheel was going on, Jeff. I thought that I was going to have to disqualify Jeff. The flywheel was going. You're actually moving very slowly, which is what it's all about. But I've never seen so many. There's two-phase steam lines here in the thing. I've never seen so many miniatures. That's good to see the miniatures in the race. That's really good. I know that I think I know what I put my money on. I'm not going to tell you because I know them all. Which are the slowest flywheel drivers, you know. Well, at the moment, yes, is just about the last engine, which means that anything can happen in the next half hour. Hello, Roy. Oh dear, didn't they? Oh no. No, you just come in last, that's all. No, you did very well. Excellent. Am I disqualified? Well, they're coming across here very slowly, but I think it's Jeff and the Thinker. Between those two, it's Jeff. I can just see that flywheel still going on Jeff. It doesn't look like it's moving at all, but it is still going. Gracious me, that's good. Okay. Oh, the nice little road locomotive. That's going to be the next one over. She's got the road train behind, she's got the water tanker and the living van behind, an extension chimney so they don't get the smoke in their eyes. And here comes a lovely half-size 5-tonner in the livery of Harvey's Brewery. Harvey's Brewery actually had one of these, and he knows they did, yeah. They actually had one of these. My favourite brew, and my Harvey's. Oh, they think they've got the dog came on the back. What's the dog's name? Hello. There's lots of dogs coming that they make. My son had Labradors and he trained them to be, first he did it, going to go to a rally, take the dog so they don't get scared. He's taking it easy, loving it. Old Sestia is doing his best to make you. Poor old Sestia has dropped in, he's dropped a Southern Creek, stalled and gone across the bows of Southern Creek. Completely there, Southern Queen down this strip. I'm so set here. Well, is that still going? I can hardly believe that flow was going on, Jeff. It's still going. The Marshal. Is he turning that by hand? Are you watching him? Somebody's trying very hard to stop the Marshal by putting a wood block under the wheels. That will stop his death. But he's not succeeded. Southern Queen was doing well until Sestia went broadside on. Oh dear, now there's somebody trying to block, one of the members of the team on Marshall is taking the block out before he gets, well done. It's a fight between the two teams there. Teams, who's going to put the block? You chuck a wooden block under that wheel, it'll stall straight away. But it's still going. Well, Tinker normally, I would have my money on Tinker because I know Ben Floyd, I know how good he is and I know he's been well looked after, but he's not won it this time. It looks to me, oh dear. And Sestia, oh now look what. There was a blocking movement there, but it failed because Jess is bigger than the other two, and I think they were intimidated by the fact that he just kept going. Oh, he put a block under it, he squashed it completely into the ground. He put a block, trying to dig it out. Now the winner of the snow race is the Mancy team with their Marshall Jet. Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and with that, I just laughed. It was kind of a laugh. Anyway, I think my friend John Bishop is over there somewhere. He's looking after the buses usually, but again, sadly, and I've known him for years now, he's getting old like me and not quite as well as he was. So I think we've got to, me and John have got to do the buses after this lot. There's a change from steam engines to buses. But that's next. Look, thank you very much, all of you. Give them a clap, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you can, John is actually here. John Bishop's been a member of the Country Institute section all those years ago, I care to think. And he's, late mate, Dean Kramer Johnson have written many books about the buses of the area, particularly in Kent, London, East Kent, Mason District, South Down, several on South Down. And of course Glyn, your mate, who's now sadly no longer with us, was a brilliant painter, and he did a lot of paintings for the front covers, didn't he? Original paintings. John, you also, we've got to tell him, we were founder members of this club, he's taken on, but he's 45 years ago. And it was just difficult getting speakers, so they got John or me as speakers, right? But of course our interest was on buses and commercials. And they used to say, and I will temper my words, because they we come on, we've got John Bishop or Dave Moore, not blooming buses again. So we said, okay, you don't like buses, we'll start our club. So we started what was then the Eastbourne Bus Club. Then it became so popular, it became the East Sussex Omnibus Society. And that's still going, just about. No, not really. We don't want the germs to go in, it's not going to be a handkerchief, no thank you. Oh, we've got a purse. Is there anything in it? No.
Yeah, there is, Dave.
Oh,
yeah.
there's stuff in it. Okay, it's a lady's purse. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, if you've lost the lady's purse and it's got "Be Happy" written on it, we've got it as a quantity box. So if you've lost the little purse, if you can tell us what's in it, we'll give you it back. So we've got this purse here, it's got "Be Happy" in pink written on the purse. Come and claim it if it's yours, but you've got to tell us the content.
Yeah, it probably belongs to a young lady, I think, judging by that, and she'd be heartbroken if she lost it. So if you're on the field and you've lost a purse and you come and identify it, it's yours this here, we're looking after it for you. Well, I hope to see the bus is moving. Where are they? You have. Well done, John. He's been down to talk to the owners of the buses to literally gee them up, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and some more in the line-up with the Dickens Park lot, and I can't see any of them moving, so that'll be the only thing in the whole day that hasn't been here on time. So don't let us down, bus members, you come along with the buses, please.
You're going to stay there.
Walk over that bit, that's the bit we haven't done yet.
Well, I can see people on top of the open top bus, and I know some of the buses have got passengers in because they bring some of the people to the side. And they like to turn around the arena, but I still can't see any buses moving. They're due in the arena in 2 minutes, please. People on top of our own topper there, the ex-Rhino District open topper, CAP229, which dates from just after the First World War. Second World War. We've got London Transport, I can see from here, we've got Southdale, we've got East Kent, we've got Maidstone District, we've got Region 5. But all, I can talk about it from here because I can see it from here. Bristol Cave, yes, it's the Bristol Cave with the 5-pot gardener. Yeah, there we are. Well, I'm not going to... Oh, right, I can see a route master on the move. I think that's Peter Haynes' route master code. The front, that'll be a hint to the rest of them. Yep. Oh, I can see, oh no, there's 2 or 3 moving now. They actually are moving, John. We're all right.
Very, very much so. And the bodywork, interestingly, those who from this home this afternoon will know heard of Thomas Harrington and Co. Limited, and this is in fact their coach body, and Southdale Motor Services were very, very much a good customer of theirs. And but this is anyway, we can talk about it in a little bit.
Right, yeah.
They're well trained, they're going round in the big semi.
This is a route master code.
Oh good, we've got another one.
An RMC.
Now this is,
Peter Haney.
We've got the boss here today.
Yes, the boss himself.
We've got the boss. This is Peter Haney, you can, from Tinker's Park, another one from the Tinker's Park collection, and worthy it is too. I think this is, personally, this, in my book, is a gorgeous, gorgeous vehicle. Well, I can say for the driver. It's alright, I do know it reasonably well, and as you can probably see, just as a matter of it, we'll talk about it in a second.
Sorry to interrupt. Why, Peter, have you got the London transfers on it yet?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, the next beat, somebody will show you. You'll be well acquainted.
I'm going to do this because it's a Bristol.
Yeah, I'm going to do this one.
Right, what we got here is the Bristol Out chassis, and that is bodied with the Eastern Coastworks bodywork. Now, of course, Eastern Coastworks is based at its lowest spot down there on the East Coast of England, and of course, this vehicle was been fitted in its day with an ultra reliable Gardner 5-pot engine. So anyway, Crossbill was a Wales company, and they operated at depots such as Chepstow, right the way up to Llandudno and across in towards Liverpool area. So Crossbill, very well known on the bus.
Now the next one is quite an interesting vehicle in its own right. I know it's a breakdown vehicle, but this one was with East Kent, and they did the conversion of it from a double. It did have a large double deck body on it. Well, part of the bodywork is still there. It's sort of part way down, and this is the original double decker bodywork.
and it's been cut down. But what we'll do, we're just going to get you all lined up, and then we can have a little...
The thing about this, John, is they've got the registration PFN, and so the batch, as you well know, was known by all our bus spotters as the puppy PFN. And I remember these with partner bodies when they were new, brand new. Oh, lovely guys here.
I did come up to the driver then, and I need to know, was it your father, Jack? Is it your father or... Brian. I'm sorry. I do apologise. I'll get the names bubbled up here. But this is a sorted circle. It's a regular attender here, and I'm not criticising it for coming down. Because I for one, always delighted to see it. It's a sorted circle. It's a coach for everybody. We'll talk about it in a second when if you can do a pirouette around the...
In a way, it's
as you come in, you can leave up.
If you look at the front, you'll see it's got the guy symbol on the front, the motto being feathers in our cap, and it's an Indian chief's head. But it's got a motor powered front end, similar to a Ford. It's got a Perkins diesel engine in it. It's quite different really to anything else London Transport had, and it was specifically, it's in London Transport Green. They bought the back for the country services, but they had a contract to build so many, and actually they overdid it. They didn't realise how many they need, so they had more than they actually needed, so they got sold off quite early, and a lot of them ended up in other countries like Hampton, Sussex, and various other companies had these with quite low mileage on. It's a lovely example of a very fine, but rather unusual London bus.
Right. The next one is the infamous, or I'm calling infamous, the RT. It says, it's asked, this has got the three numbers on the bonnet and on the side. And it's obviously London Transport. There's no mistake with the screen layout.
Expertly driven by Jeff Howell.
Oh, good, you know. I know that. Nice to see you again. Another year and so on. So we can probably gather, ladies and gentlemen, that we do know most of the drivers, and it's always a delight to see you. And I mean that. I actually mean that. If you go around.
The backbone of the London Transport fleet was the RT, wasn't it, John?
Indeed it was. Anyway, the next one we got is the Bristol K, the open topper. Again, with bodywork from the works that there was no top. And not all open toppers started like this open topper, but some were converted midway through their life just to add on that excitement at the seaside going on open top bus.
This only used to drive the black and white motors to Cheltenham.
That's an old company. St Margaret's bus station, Cheltenham. Yeah.
Cheltenham in the day, Leeds Cheltenham, Cirencester, Swindon, Newbury, Basingstoke, Park, and Drake, Farnham, Guildford, Orchard, Washington, Brightmars, Worthing, Lancashire, I'm thinking of a place now, then you went Old, Brighton, Easthaven, New Haven, Seaford, Eastbourne.
Thank you very much indeed.
But this is Brighton, wasn't it, John? Your favourite.
Join your confederates there, and we'll have a quick chat when you come back to these ladies. Okay, thank you.
John survived, John was built, the very open top, but it was the first ever one to be convertible, weren't they, John?
Indeed, they did have that.
It's the only one left that's still got its top. It's still got one now, but it was not the top.
Right. Our next offering today from the I'll get it right in a minute.
It's his own bus. It's, Colin Brown, it's his own bus.
I was going to try and credit this to the Kingdom Parliament, but it lives up there, but it hasn't, not there. I'll being correct here on the you can guess that we do know them very, very, very well, and we can have a good old joke, and it's lovely to see. And as you leave, we'll have a chat about it as we leave. Now, all right. Here's the point. Yeah, that was a spreading old one, wasn't it? Here comes Queen Mary. I've got that story on the right. The first one was called the Queen Mary, and this one is not a convertible one. It's perfectly as a double decker. No, the roof doesn't come off. Not intentionally, anyway. Not intentionally. We'll see you enjoy the line-up.
Oh, wow, that was close.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, very, very close.
Backbone of the Southdown Fleet they were, you know, all Leyland products. The days that a bus was made from beginning to end. Oh, hello, Jeff. Hello, Jeff. How are you doing? Oh, that's all right, fine. Right. This one used to run, right. The first, well, we had a driver, we'd be alright. Put the single decker there. Oh, somebody wandering up through here. This lot. Here on today, you've seen virtually a full house of buses, which is quite unusual. Can we have the first bus out, please? Just by the commentary box here, or commentary caravan, whatever you want to call it.
These were, a lot of companies are divided into BET, British Electric Traction, and BTC, weren't they? And the Bristols were built especially for the BTC companies.
Oh yeah. That's interesting, but what I should, those who are not okay, we're just talking about the British Transport Commission, and we used to call them the BTC. So let's talk about that, the single deck which is there on the south side on my left, and that's from Crossville. Crossville, which is an operator who used to run in the North Wales and in Cheshire. In fact, their head office was in Chester, and I well remember myself up in that area, and the design was distributed throughout all the British Transport Commission every day when it was all under government rules. Can we have the driver for this one, and then we can sort of let you off? That's all right. Yeah, I can say we've had similar ones at Hellingly.
This is pretty much a single-deck version of Cat 69.
That I do know very, very well, because I used to live in Brighton. So thank you very much. Right, we'll move on to. I'm going to move on to the first double-decker here, which is it's classified as an. Do you know, I'm tongue-tied here. Is this an right? Is this an RMC or RCL?
It's an RMC.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm away now. I'm all right now. I know what they. Interestingly so, London Transport with their Green Line operations and also their country area, they had. Whilst it's not on here, the fleet number on the side, they called them RMC. It was it's a double-decker coach Don't let the blind layout mislead you, because the London Transport never serviced the Hadlow Down at Tinker's Park. So, but he's got a lot of these are actually. The driver is Peter Haining, and I do believe he is the owner. He is his interest is in London Transport in the same way as I am. My interest is in London Transport. Right, okay, you can go if you want. We'll talk about the next one. The one with the Express written on the front of it, on the blind. That's a Southdown Leyland Leopard, and that is got a Harrington coach body. They used to have more seats than what they had less seats, and they put more seats in them as and when they finished doing their touring work. And this is very much, I think, an excellent looking vehicle. The other aspect which is of interest to you, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that they were the bodywork on it is done by a company called Thomas Harrington. Thomas Harrington were located in Old Shoreham Road in Hove, and they constructed quite a few vehicles by a hell of a lot actually for Southdown Motor Services, because Southdown Motor Services, same as our next one, were owned by the British Electric Traction Company, and this is the next one now. Basically, it looks like a lorry with a bit cut out the back, and in fact, it's very much a service vehicle for the East Kent Road Car Company, and they specified. You can see although they're all owned by one holding company, the British Electric Traction, that they all had their own fleet, which is quite, in my mind, quite interesting. AEC, Associated Equipment Company, which is which hails from London, southwest London, I should say, and the bodywork on it is a company called Park Royal, sir. All companies which have long gone, I'm afraid. We don't seem to do all that vehicles these days. And it's lovely to see this one. A lot of these are regular attenders, and I don't mean that in a derogatory aspect to the Hellingly Festival of Transport. This one along, I call it rather a sweet little vehicle, and but they were an essential part of London Transport's country area. And this one here is what they call a Guy Vixen chassis, and on it is a bodywork by the Eastern Coachworks. I've already mentioned their Eastern Coachworks once, and this is again is a special one that's made for London Transport for light trafficked type country routes. In fact, I think I'm going on so long now that the driver's gone to sleep. You all right in there? No, it's all right. Oh, it's all right. It's waved to me. Thank goodness for that. I did worry. No, he knows me well enough that we can have a good laugh. And well, the other notoriety is virtually this vehicle has been at the Hellingly Festival of Transport ever since his father was. I got to know him very well, and it's lovely to see it again. Thank you very much for coming down. If we don't have any other vehicles here, this one almost guaranteed is going to come along. So, but that'll be the kiss of death, won't it? Having said that, and for that I'm grateful, because it's such an odd one. They didn't make that many. Bearing in mind, London Transport, they had a delivery. You went into thousands. It didn't even get to 100 examples. How many were there actually? Did they make of these? 84. This is one of 84, and a lot of those have now long gone. Thank you very much, sir. Next one along. Well, I don't like the word ubiquitous, but it's the RT, again from the Tinker's Park Trust. Oh, Jeff at the helm. He's still there, are you? You haven't gone to sleep yet then? Not yet. I'll work on it. All right, Jeff. And this is a regular attender every year. I'm really grateful. Just as a matter of digression, you'll see on the side there's a little plate, and that means it comes from Bromley, or it's at Bromley Garage. Well, it did do, but that's on the side there. And the T, you're going to say, what is B on it is Bromley. The T is the fact that it was a Tilling, part of the Tilling group, the actual garage, and that's Tilling Bromley. That's a little bit of history. Did you know about that one, Jeff? No, he didn't know that, did he? Peter Haley's put that on there just to test me, I think. That's what he's done. Peter Haley actually owns the vehicle. Next one along. Nearly running out of time, aren't I? Right, it's Brighton Hove District. They had a war, just after the war, or wartime specification vehicle, very utilitarian vehicle, but they had their own sort of unique design, and they were all prefixed. You see, there's a little 352. They was called 6352 when they were delivered just after the war, and they were very, very much what that means is that was denoted, because it saved any sort of confusion, it was a Tilling company. So there you go, and the bodywork was converted, it was done actually by the Brighton Hove District Bus Company, which is on the screen there. It's down as a special Brighton Hove District, and they have actually done the conversion. The next one that we come along is, we've got no repeats either. It's what they call an RF. Again, rather, it's a standard design for London Transport. For the slots, you can see this one. It probably has come from Bromley. Is it? Well, it's got Bromley on the gallery, on the top there. So anyway, we'll let that on. This is the red. This unusually all the central area, which is denoted by the fact that they are red in colour, and the red denotes that it was London Central Area bus area, and you'll see ones like this which are green. Hello, I'm being approached here. Right, I've got two to go, so should be all right. The next one we commonly call the Queen Mary, the Southdown vehicle. It's a Queen. They call them Queen Marys. Bodywork is by a company called Northern Counties, long gone out of business now, from up in Wigan area, up in the northwest of the UK. And the vehicle was, they called these Queen Marys. It's a terminology which was gathered by the Southdown Motor Services in Leeds. And alongside another one from the British Electric Faction, the last one in our nice long list. Couldn't have got better variation than vehicles, could we, if you try it? That's why it's even pushing my verbal diarrhea to the end.
That is saying something.
Anyway, it's an all-Leyland product, this last one. That's the one with the on the Route 15, and they did come along this way, past from Hastings through to Eastbourne. And it's again, lovely to see it, and lovely to see these old vehicles. It really is.
Right. Sorry, just John to break in, because I know you're doing a good job here, but I was just thinking, commenting on those last two, there are local fleets, aren't they, Southdown and Mason District, very often used to run joint, like the 99 route, jointly, didn't they?
Yes, indeed.
And you've got the last of the sort of half-cab, rear entrance buses on the right with a lane, don't you? And then not long after, you've got the full-fronted PD4s, and at that time, and you know as well as I do, Mason District was running the very first Atlanteans, the rear engine. But Southdown carried on. They got the front entrance there, but how on earth you operated it was one-man operated? The poor driver had to turn through it down like that, like back to front to get the fares, but the engine is still at the front. And Southdown carried on for a long time with that design, didn't they? And they had umpteen versions of that, even as coach and express coaches, and you rightly said earlier on, with removable top decks. And that type of PD34 made up quite a large amount of the fleet. You'd see them all over Sussex, wouldn't you? But the difference between those, it was that transition that I was pointing out between the half cab and the full front. Anyway, sorry, John,
in fact, the chassis on, I realise I'm running out of time now. The chassis on the Southdown one, the light green one, that is the engine's at the front, and it was the alternative. So they had the Leyland Atlantean where the engine was at the back, but Southdown persevered with this model right away through.
District had the second batch of Leyland Atlanteans. I think it was near Blackpool, wasn't it, the first lot? The second lot was 1959, the first rear engine. We wondered, and they replaced, you and I were quite upset because they replaced the trolley buses, didn't they? Yeah, well, John, I just came along to say thank you. Now, I know that you won't mind me saying, but John's not been feeling in the best of health, and I thought for a moment we weren't going to get him today. But he's been there, like me, right from the start, haven't you, John? I must say you've got much better jacket than I got. This is old things. Anyway, look, thank you, John, for getting
50 years,
yeah,
you know.
Same here. You've got a lovely lineup you've got together here, John. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, thanks very much. I don't know where we're moving on to after this. I think we've got some more cars to come now.
Well, just have we hope that they'll all go. Oh, we're not going to go. The AEC, the X double-decker East Kent one coming out first, and he's going to make his way out back to the pen. Cheers, bye-bye. Thank you. And we've got the Bristol L. I'm listening to see if it's a gardener. Thank you. Oh, he's having a little rev up there. And oh, she's lovely, isn't she? Hello, gorgeous. Always a delight to see you, darling. She loves it. Oh, the ladies are crying for my affections now. And we got this lovely route knot. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll see a little plate on the front of that, LH, that was for Leatherhead. That's Leatherhead depot, but it's going to Hadlow down there. Thank you very much. Oh, they're playing musical buses now. Thank you very much. Cheers. I do like to see that, those. I remember those all being converted, David. Oh, he's gone. Cheers, Jeff. The last one leaving, he's actually been a very loyal supporter of this Festival of Transport, and it's fitting. Oh, hello, we've got a route master coming round here. Oh. Thank you very much. Cheers. Wait for one bus and you get loads of them all in one go. That's the old saying, isn't it? And how appropriate that is. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I haven't bored you too much. Okay, we now got in the program class C and D, which is the cars. Now, of course, how many of you started off back in the days of the Mini? Because that was the very first vehicle that I owned, was a Mini. It was a 1961 Mini, and I bought that in 1976, so I'm halfway driving today, 1917. And what only my popular car that today, because you can see from the two Minis, the white one and the blue one, just how the design varies over the next few years of Mini production, from the 1960s into the 1970s. Now the Ford Cortina that came into being in 1959 and 1960 and went on to produce not only the Mark I, the Mark II, the Mark III and the Mark IV. I mean, look at these that we've got in the arena today. We've got one there, still one 1981, I think that is. And the one behind it was 1979. And then the other one was 1982. Now, of course, Ford led the way with the advent of the Ford Cortina because it was started off and appealed to the trucking rep. The trucking rep would bring their wares under their arm and come up to the big red car. The very first car fitted with the tractor. So, of course, it led itself to being a travelling rep car, the humble Ford Cortina. Now, what we don't see very often in the rally field is the product from the British Labour Motor Corporation, which was the Oxford Maestro, dated here from 1989. The Ford Escort was always a head turner when it was introduced, but by the time we got to 1973 and produced on the RS2000 and things like the Mexico, it was actually quite a popular vehicle. The Morris Marina, introduced there in 1975, was also a very good seller for British Labour Corporation being LLC and went on to become the Morris Icon. The humble Volvo here fitted with the rail engine, believe it or not, the Volvo 360 GLC. You don't see many of them now on the rally field. And it's somewhat different, the silver car here, somewhat different, the Mitsubishi Galant. Nice to see that on the rally field. You wouldn't think that is now 23 years old, right? And if you've got something wrong with it, I'll have to talk to the owner of this one and find out a little bit more about that sporting vehicle. Now, Vauxhall Tigre don't see them much on the rally field, but they're one of what we call the future runners. And of course, Vauxhall Park General Motors were very much into their design of vehicles and made some very, very appealing models. The Audi, oh look at that. Of course, when you think about it, and you look at this one, which is the Audi Contra, this was one that led its way in the running scene. People are constantly playing the days of the Lombard Rally and stuff, and the Audi Contra led the way there. The American vehicle comes in at the moment. Of course, when you think of American vehicles, you think big, using gas guzzlers, and of course they are. It's just look at this style that the Americans had on this vehicle, and what a lovely vehicle with a Pontiac Bonneville, that's called. Now, Vauxhall, they introduced some lucky vehicles, of course, the run there was the Raptor, and well, there's a bit of park up. And of course, the Victor. Anyway, they're still coming in the arena. What we got here, we've got the Austin of England. The Corsa, lovely symbol that is on the front of the bonnet, the A in the Austin of England. I think that's the A40 example. And very nice to work the registration from where I'm from, down in Wiltshire there, so it's like Sweden registration. And the Austin A44, I think this one is. This is again a product from the British Motor Corporation back in the day, which included Austin, Morris, Triumph, Rover, Jaguar, and two others, Riley and Walton. And then we have the Austin A55, I think that might be. Let's have a look on that. Is it the A55? It's the A40. Yeah. that flying stag. If you had lots of money back in the day to flying stag with a V8 engine with a 1.4 good, because a lot of country car references like this, and of course if they were in the car park in the morning when you came to work, then you knew that the box was actually at work. Yeah, I'm famous car. Let's come back to that. We'll come back to that. I want to find out a bit more about that. Bristol 2-litre here. Now, Bristol was one of the most expensive cars, by the way, in 1963, because the Bristol S3 cost £4,500 sold in 1963, and Bristol was one of those things that was very much hand-made, beautiful. Come back to that. The Humble Morris Minor, and of course Morris Minors, you get one of those in 1963 for £600. And of course they came in two-door, they came in four-door, they came in cabriolet, and also they came in house and butler. But of course they were never as wide when they were first introduced. Back in 1959 they were never as wide as this. And that strip in the middle, I don't know if the driver knows that strip of incorporation, when you look in the cockpit of that, and you see the use of the switches and the stalks and stuff, they pretty much carry some of that right away across the range. Now, something we have got here, we don't very often see, represented is the Hillman Hunter, I think it is. And Hillman was part of the Roots group back in the 70s. This one dates here from 1972, and it's got, I think, an Essex number plate on it. It's got 00 in the number plate, is it? Yes, it's down in Essex. And of course the state versions, they were very, very useful. And I know that back when I was an apprentice back in 74, my boss had one. He used to chuck all the kit in the back and drop it off to us on the jobs. So a very, very useful vehicle. I'll come back to one on the end in a minute. I won't have a chance to that. But the Citroen here, the D520 or the DS20, now if you think of these Citroens, they actually haven't survived in huge numbers. And when you look around the Citroen, it's one of these that's got sort of self-leveling suspension, I think. It comes up on the back, doesn't it, the suspension? Yeah, we're going to have a demonstration. You watch the back of this white car, hopefully it's going to rise for you. It won't start, he says. I'll leave you to it, I'll come back to it. But keep your eye on that, can you do a demonstration for us? But they were very, very clever, the Citroen. When you looked at the Citroen 2CV, the little funny little car, there's no one coming in now, that's another Citroen, beautiful, very sort of refined vehicle. But go back to the Citroen 2CV6, that vehicle used to go across the French farmers' fields with the eggs in the back. And the suspension was so refined on them, but he never had a broken egg. And that was quite important, you know, that was just shows the quality of the car. Anyway, look at this, we talk future classics, don't we? And it's hard to put your hand on your heart a few years ago and say, what is going to make a future classic? Is it going to be the design? Is it going to be a popularity? What is the future classic? When you look along the lineup, you've actually now got a Vauxhall Tigra. I wouldn't have thought that 10 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that. The Toyota, I think this is, yeah, definitely Toyota. And of course, you know, you can see from the styling, actually, yeah, something's going to happen in the future. These cars are going to find their way onto the rally field. But anyway, I'll let them park up, and I'm going to go back and walk through the lineup again. You've got some amazing vehicles here, haven't you? I wonder how many people had a Mini around the outside of the arena. Who had a Mini? You had a Mini? Yeah, I had a Mini. Anyone else had a Mini? Put your hand up, give me a wave if you had a Mini. Yeah, lady over there, you've had a Mini. Now you can understand just how popular these cars were. Now, when you look at this car in its beginnings back in 1959, you look at this, you thought, hang on, that is going to lift off. And of course it did lift off, because the same year in 1959, they were still throwing oxidate 30s out the factory. And along come a little supercar, as I call it, a little supercar, that actually had a lot of offerings. The family liked it. Now my first Mini, 1961, are you listening to me? Yeah, 1961, mine was. It had a little button in between the seats, was the starter button. Have you got that as well? Yes, you have. Now of course by the time you get to this one, you've gone down through the Mini lineup, and you got to 1982. and it's got changes to the windows. It's higher. You've no longer got the old subframes on the back of here that used to rot out for a pastime. And of course, just look at the styling of the lamps. Now these were built by British Motor Corporation back in the day, which was Austin, Morris, Triumph, Rover, Jaguar, Wolseley, Riley. By the time we got this one, it was in the hands of British Leyland Motor Corporation. And of course, British Leyland Motor Corporation made some right mess-ups in their life with some of their vehicles, and it was run on public money. And Sir Michael Edwards was pushed in by the government to actually shut BOMC down. And they did, closed it. It disappeared off the face of the earth. But not before rather, but they produced some lovely vehicles. Again, looking inside there with the stalks, the switching devices, you'll find exactly the same switching devices and stalks in the Maestro in a minute. Lovely vehicles. Now when we talk about Fords, we talk about the invention of the travelling Rex car. And I can show you this from any of these three in the lineup because they're all lovely vehicles. And when you get to here, it's got a slam and shut boot. Now in 1959 when the Mark 1 Cortina come out, then followed by the Mark II, the Mark III, the Mark IV, by the time we got this one, the travelling Reps are still buying them. And the reason was is because they could put their suitcases and their wares under their arm and they could slam that boot down shut. It was the travelling Reps car. And it's Ford who actually say that we invented the travelling Reps car. Did you know that? Yeah, it is. It was such a lovely, useful vehicle. Equally so, it was a family car. And it led itself to a lot of fun for a lot of people. And they were very popular. And if you want sporty versions, they were out there as well. You could go right up, I think, to about a 2.8, is that right? Yeah, exactly. There were some really interesting vehicles out there. So you've got three nice examples there from 1980, 79 and 82. Beautiful. Now, you don't see many of these, as I said, the Austin Maestro on the field, because when you look inside there, you look at the stalks and everything, the lady in the blue Mini's got exactly the same. You've got the same switches, by the way. Do a comparison. Come and have a look. Come with me. Come and have a look at your car. Come and jump out your car. Come and have a look at this. Alright? Now you can see that British Leyland Motor Corporation made the most of what money they had. And the money was not that good in the day. But just look at the similarities with switches and stalks that you've got in your Mini. And that was how they did it. They took it right through the range. They took it through the Triumph Toledo, the Triumph Dolomite, the 1500 range. They took it right through the Maestro, right through the Montego, including the Mini where it all started. They're lovely, isn't it? Also stories that come out of the motor organisation. Anyway, back in 1967, on F-Reg, Ford introduced the family Escort. And it was a little basic thing. I think you could get 1100cc, you could get a 1300. And at the end of the day, they were then known for producing some sporty stuff. And they went on to do rallies, the Lombard Rally and stuff, with some really souped-up models. But looking at the styling of it, you can see that it was appealing to the families. And again, a small, humble little car. And, you know, it wasn't a lot of money. It really wasn't. But I love them. Yeah, the Morris I-Town, or rather the Morris Marina, eventually became the Morris I-Town. But not before it had some fantastic sails. It shared its McPherson structure, suspension and steering with the likes of the MG range, and of course it was a very popular vehicle if you had the 1800cc engine. What have you got in here? You've got the 1275, so you've got the 1300 engine as they call it. Ultra reliable, by the way. But it was a great family car, and of course it went on to earn that company some good sales. Now, when we look at Volvo, who'd have thought Volvo would have been on the rally field? But here they are, the 360 I think this is, isn't it? Yeah, Renault engine or not? No, it's not Renault engine, I stand corrected.
It's a Volvo Red Block 2 litre.
Very, very nice indeed. Of course, you can see where Volvo are coming from. They, again, attacked that family marketplace, didn't they? They wanted the sales, and they got them. But, yeah, equally attractive vehicle. And what we're looking at year-wise, we're looking at a F-Reg 1987. Is it 88? 87?
89? Hang on. 89. So it's a late one. Excellent. Mitsubishi Galant. Where do we start here? Because in from where? Japan, is it Mitsubishi? Yeah. Yeah, nice vehicle. How long you owned it?
Nearly 3 years now. As it's a 2001 Galant, 2.5 V6 Sport. It's like a competition for the 3 Series BMW, I guess. There's also a manual gearbox. But another part of doing a throttle for a boost as well, make it because I have one of those take something particular to this, and got free 35 for nothing.
Well, it's a bargain. But who'd have thought Mitsubishi would have been on the rally field? Again, we look to the future, don't we, about what will be the future classics. And some of the cars that come to mind now will be things like the Citroen Saxo. That will be the one that will start appearing on the field for the year 2000. That will be there in another sort of 3 to 5 years. They will start appealing. But who'd have thought that would have been on the rally field? But it is. Anyway, I'm intrigued, my friend. Why the blue flashing lights? Why everything else that makes this look like a police vehicle? Has it got any history in another country? Is that what it is?
Oh no, so we bought this car completely stock, and we wanted to do something different.
You've certainly done that.
We wanted to like to take the shows and stuff. It is a rare vehicle in and of itself. There's not many of these around. It's a Cadillac DLS. We obviously changed the badge, but we put all this on it ourselves. Found suppliers that we kit it out. We just bring it to shows as what it is.
That's fair enough. It's about owning a vehicle and do what you enjoy getting out of it, isn't it? It's coming to any form of vehicle, whether it's modern or vintage wise. Anyway, it's somewhat different. Like I say, it's Cadillac, yeah?
Cadillac DLS.
Now, when you look at American marketplace, you think of big cars like the one behind. But you know, it's not all about that, because they saw sense, the Americans, and started downsizing their vehicles in line with their economic fuel problems. So there we are, a product from America, look, somewhat very different, and it's right hand side. Anyway, Vauxhall Tiga, yes, lovely little vehicle. And of course, how long you owned it, young man?
Getting on for 1 year, but the mechanics 2 years.
That's fair enough. How do you work that out?
So this is actually a crash rebuild, and everything mechanical has been transferred from the donor car, where it rolled with the roof down, the A pillar was smashed, the entire body was done for. So we ripped the engine out, and within 3 weeks of the accident, sourced the body from Cornwall and rebuilt it.
Well, you know what's going to happen next. You're going to have things like the Ford Probe coming into the classic vehicle scene, and some of the others like I mentioned, the Citroen Saxo. There are some future classics, everyone, so don't throw your cars away. You've got stuff in your garden. If you've got one there at the back of the shed, check it out, because it might need to appear on the rally field. But you can see where Vauxhall are coming from with this. It's a quirky little vehicle, an exceptionally nice little vehicle, and a very useful vehicle. That's lovely. And that's 2007. So, you know, it is quite an aged car. Now, when we talk of cars, we think Audi, the Audi Quattro, we think the rally scene, the Lombard Rally, the likes of that, a very quick car in its day.
Yeah, it's 1986, bought it in 1988, so I've had it a little while now. 214 Ford turbo, 4-wheel drive.
So you're just getting used to it now if you've had it that time. Anyway, ultra reliable. We think Audis, we think big repair bills, don't we? We think about, you know, you take it in a garage, you know, and it's going to cost you hundreds for a set of brake pads. Is that like that in reality or not?
No, she's been fairly reliable and not overly costly over the years. No, very trustworthy car.
Very, very nice colour. And of course the style has got everything written Audi about it. And, you know, it's just one of those vehicles that sort of represents the sort of, not the supercar scene, but the sort of the rally car scene back in the days of the Lombard Rally and things like that. Don't very often see them on the rally field, most certainly don't. Anyway, just look at this, the big American dream. Now, a car like this wouldn't fit on the average domestic drive. It would not. It probably won't fit in your average domestic garage. But when you look at America, it's all about styling, it's all about big, it's all about comfort. And you look inside there, it is absolutely rammed with goodies. It's a lovely vehicle. And one thing I like about it, that you can take the back window down inside of the
rear door to become what they call a pillarless car. And that is just one of the quirky bits that the American cars have got. Unfortunately though, you've got to choose running costs, haven't you? What have you got there, about a 6 litre engine?
Yeah, 6.6 litres, or 400 cubic each in American cars. So,
Have you got a garage big enough to put it in or not?
yes, I have got a double garage, and the white smart sit next to it.
I can't say you need a double garage, I was just going to mention that. Brilliant. That's the answer, I need a double garage. Anyway, running costs. What to get the gallon, about 18, 19?
No, a bit less than that, between 12 and 15.
Oh dear, it's not on my shopping list, my friend. Beautiful vehicle, over here in America, over here from America, how do you get your parts?
Very easily. A company called Rock Auto sells parts for American cars, and there's a contact specialist in America called Range, and don't get links available for it.
Couldn't obviously be difficult.
If you can, there's no problem.
Very interesting. Now, I would never have thought that. Now, what do I see in the front window? A for sale sign. Is it good money? Is it good value?
Well, I think it's good value, £25,000.
Fair enough. But, you know, every car's got a value. 25 grand, it's up for sale everywhere. Big American vehicle. Now, Vauxhall. When Vauxhall came into producing a family car, they did well with the Victor. And of course, this lovely little 4-door example. And it's got things on it you just don't see nowadays, like the use of the mirrors on the wings. They're totally outlawed, in fact, you know, at the end of when they decided to take them off and discontinue. But what some ideas they had, and when you look at it, you've got column change and you've got everything that you want from a family car. They made good taxis too during the day.
They did. This one's done just 46,000 miles since new, never been restored, and been carefully looked after. Lots of TLC. It's interesting that if you wanted the 4-speed floor change, it would have cost you an extra in mind myself. Yes, an extra £14, 15 shillings to have the 4-speed gearbox. So obviously the original owner of this car didn't think it was worth the extra money and went with the standard 3-speed gear change.
Now, of course, with only that mileage on, it's barely run in. I say, with that mileage on the clock, it is barely run in.
Absolutely, yes, the engine and gearbox haven't been touched, but it has to be driven with respect. It might be good, but it's old.
I think you've got to do that with all vehicles, haven't you? You can't sort of treat them like a rally car, because they're not a rally car. You've got to treat them with respect. The engines, needed a lot more work in those days than what the modern engines do nowadays. But then, in this era, we're talking top dead centre. So if you've got your timing right, you've got your points, you've got your plugs and all that done, it should go. And of course nowadays we've got all these computers, we're in the garage every 5 minutes, aren't we? So yeah, the old cars certainly do it for me. Thank you very much. That's the Vauxhall Victor. Now, look at this, Austin Austin Somerset. Lovely Wiltshire number plate, because this is somewhere near where I come from. I come from Stonehenge, and this was registered up round Swindon Way. But what a beautiful vehicle. And do you know what I like most of all about your vehicle? Is the badge, because it's in A in an E, and it's Austin of England. And of course it's part of British Motor Corporation back in the day. So, lovely vehicle. What have you done to it? Have you done lots or not?
I bought it restored. Yeah, haven't done anything to it so far. Yeah.
Now, I was going to ask you something, because when you get a vehicle like this, you've got to have some kind of insurance agreed figure. How do you go about that with an insurance company of a car of any of the quality that these here? Everybody's got a value, so how do you go about it?
Very difficult, yeah. I mean, I just insured it for the purchase price, but we just have to hope for it. We don't need to claim.
It is very, very nice. Of course, the Austin range encompasses things like the Austin 840, and you've got an Austin 840 Sports here, 1951 to 53. And I noticed it's got Jensen design, and we don't see many Jensens on the rally field, do we?
One on there.
There is one over there, is there? Oh, I can walk round tomorrow and have a nose. Anyway, lovely vehicle. How do you go about getting all your parts? You've got an owner's club behind you?
No, you struggle. You do struggle to get hold of any bits for this one.
Are there any sort of commonly used parts that sort of help you out across the range, or not? No?
No, not really.
Well, look after her, my friend. It's obviously something quite unique because, you know, it's a lovely looking vehicle, and there you go. What else can I say? Look after her. Beautiful. Now, Austin of England again. And these used to make good family cars. They used to make good taxis. But this is A40 as well, isn't it?
It's like A40 Cambridge from 1956.
And just looking inside, right, what I love about this vehicle, you get to here, you can actually smell the trim. You can smell the carpet, you can smell the headlining, and the seats. Old vehicles never lose that smell. And earlier on, I noticed it with the buses, but yeah, you can jump on a bus and smell the 1950s originality. Why don't they lose that you know, smell? Why don't they lose it?
I think it's a combination of leather and fag smoke. Kind of back in the day, people smoked and everything was proper leather, proper trim. Nowadays you have faux leather, faux trim and the rest of it. And as leather and trim ages, you just want to get this natural smell.
It's got some commonly used parts across the dashboard that you see in some of the other ranges of vehicles. Anyway, Triumph Stag. When we think Triumph Stag, we think 3.5 litre, we think V8 and stuff. What have you got in the bonnet of this one?
It's got the original Triumph 3 litre V8 in it. Yeah, and it's never been changed. My granddad bought this in '84, and we've had it ever since. It's just come out of the time. It's sat in a barn for 10 years. My dad muttered the immortal words, "You won't get that going." So I went off there with some spanners and a mission and appeared in it an hour later, and he was very annoyed.
So here to eat his words. Anyway, looking inside, you've got things like the use of the veneers on the dashboard and stuff like that. And that was all part of our coach building skills. Not only could we engineer good quality cars in the UK, but we could actually have supplementary trades who worked in those factories, like carpenters and stuff, who did all this veneer work. And again, when you look at your stalks and your switches, they're the same as what's in the Maestro and in the 1982 Mini. Anyway, this is a car I know nothing about. I'm like a bit of a walking encyclopedia because I don't know. I make it what I need to know. Anyway, the answer of the car. It obviously goes in water.
Yeah, this is a 1964 Amphi car. I've owned it for over 20 years. Amphi cars were built in Berlin between 1961 and 68. And the production run was something lower than 4,000, about 3,700. This is a 1964 car. As I say, I've had it over 20 years, and there's not a lot left on it now that there was when I bought it. We use it regularly on land and water. We've just come back from a rally in Belgium, and these letters on the side are its Belgian Waterways registration mark.
How interesting. So you've been in the water with it?
Oh yeah. Yes, regularly. We put it on the Thames, we put it on the Medway, we regularly swim in Holland and on the continent. So it's used for what it was built for.
So tell me, how do they stop any form of water going in through the door panels? How does that work?
There's a flexible seal on the body of the car, and there's a flexible seal on the door. And when you shut the door, there's an extra handle that pulls those two seals tight on a cam, and they're watertight.
That is amazing. Well, have a look at this close up, everyone, because you see this in the parking liner. Go and have a look at it. It's interesting. It's got a Maidstone number plate, KE, dates to 64. You've got a Bristol number plate on this one. Yeah, an actual Bristol number plate, AE. Anyway, this is a Bristol car, as they call it. And of course, they were an expensive car when they were new, because it involved not only the mechanical side, it involved a lot of coach building. Anyway, lovely vehicle. Welcome.
Not only the coach building, but it was taxed. The tax on the car was about £900 on top of the purchase price of the car. So it was phenomenally expensive.
That is incredible. I never knew that, you know. And of course, we learn something new at every show we do. We really do. We don't know everything. We do learn from you guys. Because you've got some great stories to tell.
So, story behind the car, how long you owned her and any work you've had to do?
It's been in the family for 27 years. It belonged to my father-in-law, and when he decided he was too old to drive a classic car, it came over to his daughter, who luckily I married many years ago, and that's how the car's in the family now.
And just look at that cockpit in there. Look at the work that's gone into the veneers and the timber work in there. Very, very nice vehicle. Thank you very much. The Bristol. Have a good look at that, everyone. Anyway, Morris Minor, we've said before, what an interesting vehicle, and it was never that wide. That strip through the middle of 4 inches was put in there to make that vehicle wider. But this goes back to the days when it's got the AA members badge on the front with your membership number stamped on there. And of course, that is the day that if you broke down at the roadside, the AA man would come and stand and salute you. Now the AA wore brown uniforms because after World War II there was a shirtless, a brown uniform, army uniform. Hence the RSA wore blue because they had blue uniforms left after the war days. And of course, you know, it's a very important point. But the only time the AA man would never salute you is if there's a speed trap nearby. So how about that then? That is somewhat different. What a story. The Rover 90 here, the doctor's car, Portsmouth number plate, RX. What do you know about it, sir? What do you reckon? So what Berkshire was? Oh, you are 100% right. I've just realised. Berkshire number plate, RX. Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, what do you know about it? How long you owned it? What a superb vehicle.
7 years I've had it. Bought it just before my wife died. Kept it ever since. I had it painted last year, and I had electric power assisted steering. This year I was allowed to various things, better quality anti-roll bar, radial tyres and various things to keep up with the dreaded potholes in our roads, but we can't beat it.
Of course, you mentioned radial tyres. So many vehicles of that era were fitted with cross ties, weren't they? Of course, which is quite a narrower tyre, and yeah, it's totally different to a radial. But yeah, the doctors absolutely love these vehicles. It was probably only the doctor and maybe the dentist who could afford one. But not many families actually had the Rover 90. It was aimed at the company directors, of course, as well, because at the same offering, but this has been registered, you still had Austin A30s and Austin A35s running out the factories. So you can imagine that, you know, if you wanted something a bit plush, you had to pay for it. So there we have, what a lovely vehicle, two-tone as well, and beautiful. Anyway, hang on my friend.
Got overdrive up for an extra £12, 10 shillings I believe it was in that day.
Now the overdrive, as you mentioned, is what we would almost call a 5th or 6th gear in a modern car, isn't it? So if you ask what an overdrive is, that is what it's about. Anyway, the MGB, I think this is. And engine-wise, what have you got in there, 3.5 or not?
So Addiscell rebuild 1860 fast low spec engine.
That is somewhat different, I've never heard of that.
Cruise of 80, and I do on the continent sometimes.
Now there's one country I see on the news this week that if you go to, they've introduced a 90-mile-an-hour speed limit. What do you reckon to that?
Be okay for me, I don't go above 90.
That's brilliant. Anyway, a superb car. If you wanted to import one of these, always import them from the States, from somewhere like California, nice dry state, because a lot of the open top cars that were built by the British Labour Motor Corporation and the British Motor Corporation of the day went out to America. But a beautiful vehicle, somewhat very different with that engine. I hope people ask to open the bonnet today.
Well, the bonnet, the engine looks just like any other B-series engine, but it's the head that makes all the difference. But because it's a fast car, I've upgraded the brakes, I've got twin-disc 12-pot caliper brakes, I've got telescopic suspension, electronic ignition fans, but so many things I've added to it, but it all improves the car. It's a lovely car to drive. I use it for touring, even as far north of Norway and as far south as Portugal. And I've just come back from an event in France.
Very, very nice indeed. Of course, one thing I was going to mention before I left the Rover 90 next door here was it probably had no power steering when it was new, did it? So of course, you know, it was a lot harder to drive some of the more heavy vehicles back in the 1950s and early 60s with no power steering. Nowadays we're spoilt for choice.
we've got absolutely everything behind the wheel. And here's a car that has got everything behind the wheel. When you look inside of here, it is quite understandably Toyota. It's written all over it, but a very nice vehicle. Who'd have thought a few years ago we'd be seeing the Toyotas coming in as now a classic vehicle.
Yeah, although it's 33 years old now, so it's getting on there. It's all original, done 81,000 miles. Yeah, it's just a new brand for 22 years. So, yeah.
Of course, we're starting to see things like the Mazda MX-5s coming in now to the rally fields. Yeah, some very popular makes out there yet to adorn us on the rally field. So please look after it. Nice vehicle. Anyway, we mentioned the Humble Roots group. They not only made the Hilton Hunter, they did the Humber range of cars. They did the Hilton Imp. They did the Minxes and everything else. And as I said, this was a very useful estate version. Equally so, they make good taxis, good taxi companies. Good family car. How long you owned it?
So that's interesting. I bought it today last year. So I bought it at this show. And I pretty much used it as a family car sim because the normal fact that I'm just read a bunch of things, and the average family car that we had died, so we ended up starting using this as a family car. So I think that's family.
Just look how basic it is behind the wheel, isn't it? You know, it's got everything you need, but equally so, it's very basic, isn't it?
Yeah, so you've got your speed gauge, your fuel gauge, your temperature gauge, and your pressure light. That is everything behind the steering wheel. The interesting thing behind the column, with the column, is on an average car the indicator on the left hand side, where this is got it on the right hand side due to the left hand side being the overdrive box. So instead of having it on the top of the gear stick, it's just a little clicky on the left hand side.
And most of these were what, about 1700cc, is that right?
This is a 1725cc engine, was built in 1971, although being a K-Reg, so it's more 72, but it was on the earlier variant.
Very, very nice indeed. Look after it. And of course there's always an argument, isn't there? Do you do a car up? Do you leave it in its working clothes? Do you go for a full restoration? What do you do? So when you look at a vehicle, it's got the patina all over it for that age of vehicle. And of course there's a good reason to leave it like it, because it shows every inch of its age in 1971-72. And when you stand back here and you look at the back of it, how basic that vehicle looks on the highway, it's incredible. It just looked a very, very basic vehicle, and it was. So there we go, a very, very useful vehicle. And the last two in the lineup are incredible, because it's lovely to see one of these on the rally field, let alone two. But we got two of them, and just look at the air suspension going up on the back of the Citroen. Now, I've always called these the Citroen DS. I sometimes sort of remember the Citroen Palace as well as a vehicle, and they were ultra comfortable. Just look at that vehicle. It's got the ability to raise its suspension. Looking at the number plate, I think it's got a Cornwall number plate on there. Yes, it has. It's got a Cornwall number plate dating from 1971. Did you know it was Cornwall?
No, I didn't know. No, it spent most of the time in Belgium. Actually, came over here about 15 years ago.
Yeah, RL is Tintagel, so that gives you a little clue as to where she may well have been first registered or whatever. But equally so, nice vehicle, very comfortable in it. And when I made mention about the 2CV6 driving it across the farmer's field with the eggs on the back, and you wouldn't break any, because that is what Citroen was all about, was refinability with the suspension and everything. So, any little quirky stories you want to tell us about it?
Not really, no. I mean, I've just owned it about 18 months, and done a bit of recommissioning for the city for a while. So, and yeah, it drives fine. Drove around Ireland last summer without any problems. So, yeah, beautiful, comfortable car.
It's lovely. Well, thank you for bringing it along and showing us today. Anyway, it's interesting having one, but we've got a double whammy. We've got a second one. And I've got on the wrong side, haven't I? I'll come round and see you. Anyway, just while I'm around this side, just look at the styling on this vehicle. It is quite impressive, and it has just raised up and raised itself back down. Now, this is the Citroen Palace, as I mentioned earlier. What a lovely, lovely condition vehicle. So, what stories have you got for us? I've had this a couple of years now. I've spent about a year getting it roadworthy. Been stored unused for quite some time and the rear end has gone a bit rotten, so we've got a bit of work there. Originally it was bought by an army officer that was based in Germany. Bought it new, exported it to Germany where he was based for a year, and then brought it back with him, and that's why it's registered on our 74 plate, and actually a 73 car, 72 car. And yeah, it's been owned by two people, I think. Somebody was bought it off him, and it's not gone through Tim and Youngers, but it's been restored a couple of times over
It's got some very interesting bits on the dashboard. I hope people ask you what it all does, alright? And both of you, you're the same. You've got all the interesting bits there by the steering wheel. I wouldn't know what half of these bits do. Anyway, I wonder what, if you had all the money in the world, what car would you have today out the lineup? What car would you have? I think for me, I'd go back to my roots. I'd have the Mini, because that is what I started with in 1976, age just 17, was the humble Mini. And as the lady's got on hers, she's got the starter button between the seats, and that's exactly what I had. Now, of course, we think of the Minis as being the cars that was in that film with Michael Caine, the French Connection, not the French Connection, what's it called, the Italian Job. And when we think of that, we think of the Mini Coopers, and that was the car which did it for a lot of people, because they wanted not just the humble Mini with its little 900 odd cc engine, they wanted something that actually went very fast, and they went for the Coopers. But then we've got every representation here today of every family car, and you know, some really good makes, right away from the Root Group through to the Vauxhalls, through to the future classics that are sat here, and some very unusual stuff in between. Thank you very much, everyone. Just do a few circuits and then we'll get you back to your parking area. That's a little insight into our heritage when it comes to car building, everyone, because we have built some amazing vehicles. And when you look around the showground, there are amazing vehicles here. So thank you very much, drivers. Enjoy. Well, I hope you enjoyed the cars, everyone. I certainly did. One of my favourite sections, the cars and the steam. But yeah, cars have come a long way, haven't they? From the days with no power steering, right the way through to you know, being some really nice, acceptable and comfortable vehicles. Can you do your semaphore indicators for us? Now here's one thing you don't see every day on a car, the left-hand one. Give it a tap. There we go. And there's the semaphore indicator comes out like that. Can you do the other side for the other side of the arena? And there we are. There's his indicator, semaphore. And you don't see that on many vehicles. So there we are, semaphore indicators. I'm glad we spotted them. And when he just said to me, give it a tap, I like that. Because they do stick. They're on like a little electromagnet. And they do stick. And a little bit of WD-40 would actually help. But there we go. Don't get refinements like that on the modern car. Of course, on the old cars, you had to have a choke. And that was something that back in the old days, you had to get the choke to work in collaboration with the driver, really. And eventually the engine warmed up, you didn't use chokes. But a lot of people would look at a car and wonder what a choke does. In the same manner, if you look at a very early Mini like this, you'd have a little button down the side of the clutch, which was your dip the headlights button. And of course, you got that on many a vehicle as well. So there we are. I think that is the end of the arena, is it? Hugh, in the box, is there anything else? That's the end of the arena, isn't it, today? Don't forget, plenty of foods are on the go, everyone. And there's lots to see and do on the site. Don't forget, if you want a calendar for the event, they're over for sale on the Eastbourne Historic Vehicle Club. You can get yourself a calendar over there, £9. If you take your child with you, they get a free teddy bear. How about that? So their calendar is packed with goodies, lots of pictures. So thank you very much, everyone. We're back again tomorrow morning with lots more vehicles. And it's only day 1 for us, so tomorrow day 2, then we've got day 3 on Monday. Thank you very much.